Infernicons? They're not Infernicons. Those are Knights. What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching The Road to TF5. This is just a web series we're talking about Transformers last night. This is episode number 135. We're going to start off with birthday shoutouts. They go out to Clashing with Zephos, MP Bowen 10, DJ Latino 26, and also Connor Fulbright. Happy birthday to all y'all. Hope you have a good one. Thank you for being part of the Ragin Nation. Also, big thank you shout out goes out to Super Dad John Fulbright, who is the father of Connor Fulbright, and thank you for being an awesome dad. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. And also, big thank you shout out goes out to all the super dads, super moms, super parents out there who watch The Road to TF5 with your kids. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for all your support. This channel would not exist if it weren't for you guys. So thank you so much for that. So moving on, what we're going to talk about in this episode is we're going to follow up on a couple of items that I missed from my previous episode. In my previous episode, I did a shot-for-shot trailer breakdown for the trailer number 2, which is essentially an extended version of the Kids' Choice Awards extended TV spot. And there was a lot of stuff that I missed. And it's thanks to you guys for bringing it to my attention. I can't thank every single one of you guys because that would be a very, very long episode and pretty much be a thank you episode, okay? But the fact is that I received tons and tons of tweets and instant messages and private messages and Facebook comments and YouTube comments about the things I missed out on this episode. And then I decided to watch the trailer again, and there's a couple more things that I decided to point out that I missed on my episode, on the previous episode. So thank you so much for bringing all this stuff to my attention. You know who you are. Okay, we're gonna start from the very, very beginning. I'm gonna try to keep this short and sweet, but there's a little bit of like a couple of things that we got to talk about. So from the very, very beginning, we see the shot where the kids are walking in the stadium. It's all destroyed and beaten up, and I'm just thinking, okay, I'm just throwing it out there, are we in the future? Like, are they just going to leave these buildings like completely destroyed and not repair them? Because back in Transformers Age of Extinction, we saw a brief scene where they were trying to make repairs from the Battle of Chicago. Now, I'm just thinking, the kids are walking in the stadium. How recent was this battle? Okay, I noticed that a Cybertronian drone ship engine is still there. It wasn't even collected. Like, how recent was that battle? And the fire is still burning. Like, was it burning like recently, like a minute ago? Or was it burning from like years ago? So that's a big question. Okay, attention to detail here. All right, next thing I want to point out is that Sqweeks appears to be almost completely a practical effect. I don't know what percentage, but it seems like at least 90% of of his appearance could be like made up of a practical effect, kind of like BB-8. But the thing is that kind of affects the way he looks as a transformer, because as far as I know, he's an Autobot, but he doesn't look Cybertronian at all. So maybe his Cybertronian form, like his protoform mode, before he becomes a Vespa, looks very, very different and organic. But as far as him being an Autobot, like as a robot that exists on Earth that transforms into a Vespa, he doesn't look anything like for example, Brains or Wheelie, which makes him kind of like an outsider, you know, like in the aesthetic point of view. So I'm just wondering, like, how much of him is actually going to be like a CG effect, and if they don't have any moments where he's a CG effect, then, you know, I'm kind of going to be a little bit distracted by the fact that, well, everybody looks like a CG, like awesome looking CG photorealistic Cybertronian, but here's this one that looks like a radio controlled toy. You know what I'm saying? So I was a little bit concerned about that. Anyways, moving on. It appears that Barricade could be the lone wolf Decepticon. And what I mean by that is that it appears that, well, I'm pretty sure he survives that small town battle and makes his way to London. I mean, we know he makes his way to London because of the behind the scenes stuff, right, that we saw during the production of the film. But if you look at that scene where there's explosions going off and all the Decepticons are in the robot modes just going in the fire, right? Barricade is rolling out. He's rolling off, and he's got a couple of scenes on his own. Not just in the London chase with Bumblebee, but also in the Detroit Packard plant. So I think that the writers and Michael Bay are deciding that they're going to really give Barricade his moment to shine, which is something that I mentioned before, but it's appearing more and more evident. Okay? Now, that scene where Isabella Moner walks up to the Decepticons in the small town and says, "I'm not afraid of you." We get our first look at all the Decepticons together. Now, we know that Onslaught's on the right. Megatron's next to him. And then there's another Decepticon which really looks like a version of Shockwave. I'm not saying that he is Shockwave or even a version of him. I'm saying that he shares the same robot mode as Shockwave, just with a different head, different paint job, and I'm pretty sure different molding and retooling on his body, and he's gonna end up being a toy. He is gonna end up being a toy because I saw like a photo that was leaked that is called Decepticon Nitro. So that's Nitro. Now, the interesting thing about his character is that we haven't seen his alt mode in any of the production. We should have seen it, but we didn't, which leads me to believe that he's not even going to transform. Shockwave shared the exact same mold, but he never transformed. He had a toy, but he didn't transform into that weird looking Cybertronian tank. He didn't. So I'm thinking that Decepticon Nitro is only going to appear as a robot mode, which kind of sucks. This film is called Transformers. I want to see each and every single one of these guys transform into something. So looks like that might not be happening. It could be happening if he keeps his Cybertronian alt mode and transforms into that tank that Shockwave never transformed into. Moving on to the left and right, on the telephone pole, that's Mohawk. And why is that Mohawk? After I took a very close look at that HD screen cap that I made, he's got an actual mohawk. Look at that. He's got an actual spiked mohawk as if he came from the 80s. So that's Mohawk. And also, Hooligans on the top of the roof. How do I know this? Just because, well, first of all, who's left? Okay? Barricade's not like there because like I recognize him. I know what Barricade looks like. That's Hooligan. He's the Volkswagen van because if you look at those two parts that are coming out of him, those looks like beat up panels from the Volkswagen van. So that's Hooligan. Moving on. I'm wondering, besides Megatron, do all those Decepticons die? Because they don't appear in the London scenes. In the London chase with Barricade. As far as I know, I'm not sure if they're in the final battle. Maybe they are in the final battle because they're CG characters and they don't need to show off their alt modes anymore. So maybe they do show up in the final battle. But if they don't, it looks like these Decepticons sadly die by the hands of a human, Cade Yeagere, and his detonator, his explosive device. Megatron survives, Barricade survives, he rolls out, but the rest of them, did we just see the death of the Decepticons? I mean, it looked like they jumped out and they should be able to survive an explosion like that. That's a human explosion. That's not like Lockdown's bomb or anything like that. That's like just dynamite and TNT or something like that. Anyways, let's go to this shot where we see Optimus Prime being beat up by I don't know, Infernicons. They're not Infernicons. Those are Knights. Now I said there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. I did another count. There are 8 of them. There are 8 of these Cybertronian Knights. And why am I calling them Cybertronian Knights? Because if you look at the last one you see before the camera pans down, that's Steelbane. Look at the shape. Look at the head. Look at the body. Look at the torso. That's Steelbane. Steelbane is a toy that was introduced at New York Toy Fair, and he looks just like that. And these Knights are beating up Optimus Prime, and I don't know the exact reason, but there's a clue here. Now, this is something that was mentioned to me by a lot of the fans. Thank you so much for bringing this to my attention. But his eyes are blue, not the evil purple color. His eyes are blue. So, what does that mean? This could mean that him being beat down by the Cybertronian Knights occurs after Optimus and Bumblebee had their battle. So either Bumblebee beats him and then he fails the test, so now the Cybertronian Knights have to beat him, or Optimus Prime refuses to continue fighting, which disappoints the Maker, and therefore the Maker tells the Cybertronian Knights to finish him. So that's what's happening there. So he turns back good. I mean, he's got to turn back good. He can't remain evil forever. So there you have it. Speaking of which, Cade is in the same shot. When I was looking at my HD screenshots, it panned down. Cade is in that shot. Very, very dangerous situation because he could get crushed had Optimus like fallen on him or get stomped on by one of the Cybertronian Knights. He better get the heck out of there. I don't know how he's going to help, but he does have a sword. But how that plays apart, you know what? I'm really not sure. This is the big thing that fans are telling me about. Wheelie is back. Wheelie is back. And Wheelie appears in that scene where Isabella Moner is fixing a Bumblebee's voice thing, his voice box. If you look in the wide shot, there's Cade Yeagere, standing there. There's Isabella Moner working on the car, Sqweeks, and on the hood of that vehicle, Wheelie. It's very, very easy to miss, but he's there. The thing is that I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised one bit because if you remember, the Road to TF5, episode number 44, I mentioned that Wheelie could potentially come back. And that is because of Isabella Moner's character synopsis. And what it says there is that her character, Isabella, is an orphan. Her parents were lost in the Battle of Chicago, which means she lives in Chicago. And also, she has a small Autobot friend, like a loyal friend. And automatically you would assume that's Sqweeks. But you gotta remember, we assumed that Wheelie is dead from the Battle of Chicago because, there wasn't any like trace of him coming back. Brains came back, Wheelie didn't come back. But, if it was if Wheelie's last known appearance was in Chicago, Izzie's from Chicago. He's got a small Autobot pet or loyal friend. Then the first thing I can think of is Wheelie. So therefore, I'm not surprised at all. And so there you have it. Okay, so about this little guy, and by little guy I mean a human-sized Cybertronian that appears in a scene where Cade gets thrown out a window. I said that that's Mohawk, but upon closer, visual evaluation, that is not Mohawk, because when you look at it, it looks like it's going like this, as in it is surprised or shocked to see Cade fall out the window. So why would it look like that? Well, some people were suggesting that this is the combined mode of the Dinobots, like mini Dinobots. If the mini Dinobots combined, they form a humanoid Cybertronian, and like obviously if that is, then it's human sized. But there's also some people suggesting that it's Cogman's Headmaster. It could be one or the other, something entirely different. I can't comment on it because, this is so mysterious to me. I have no theory about it. But it is interesting to think about what he is going to be. But it's definitely not Mohawk because it's going like this. Talking about that scene, following up on that scene, what is going to catch Mark Wahlberg's fall? What is going to catch his fall? That's a really, really good question. Because do you remember that when they were filming out in that, I don't know where they were filming exactly, somewhere in Detroit, I guess. There was a scene where Mark Wahlberg's stunt double was hanging on to this thing. And I was originally thinking that's an arm cannon. I was thinking that's got to be an arm cannon. I mean, look at it. It looks like the brown paint and all that stuff. I mean, it could still very well be an arm cannon, and then Mark Wahlberg is caught by an arm cannon, but maybe the flying thing, maybe he's hanging on to the flying thing, and that flying thing has a gun on it, like a cannon. So I think that's part of that scene. All right, so that's all I can think of. But I definitely don't believe that something at the bottom is going to catch his fall. Something flying or something big is going to catch him. Finally, the last scene I'm going to talk about is the very, very last scene where Mark Wahlberg has one more line of dialogue before the trailer ends. And that is, go back to your hole. And that's referring to Grimlock. I didn't think too much about this. I thought he was just talking about how, disciplining Grimlock, because after Grimlock spits out the vehicle and those parts, it appears that Grimlock is acting like a dog, like a dog that did something naughty, which is what Lorenzo de Bonaventura said. He's like a naughty dog. And then once Cade scolded him, he was like, you know what I'm saying? So I thought it was just that, but there's more to it than that. He said, get back to your hole. When's the last time we saw Grimlock come out of a hole? I didn't see him physically come out of a hole, but the Super Bowl TV spot suggested that Grimlock came out of the ground. You know what I'm saying? Grimlock came out of the ground when the TRF guys are trying to attack him. Huge explosion came out, but I didn't see Grimlock anywhere. He just came out of the ground, which suggests that if Cade Yeagere was literally telling him to get back in his hole, that means that Grimlock can burrow underground. Maybe that's one of his things. He burrows underground, and maybe that's where he actually hides, because how on earth can you hide this big freaking Dinobot? Even when he transforms, he's a big giant knight. So the only place to hide is underground. Otherwise, where else is he gonna go? Like a cave? There's no caves in that junkyard area. He's underground. Grimlock can burrow underground. Anyways, that's all I gotta say in this episode. I think I've pretty much covered everything. I think the next piece of marketing is at CinemaCon, which is happening at the end of this month. So that's it. That's it until the final trailer comes out. Okay, which should be next month. Anyways, that's all I gotta say in this episode. What do you guys think about anything that I've talked about? Let me know in the comment section below. There is a lot more stuff that I gotta talk about. I've already got my production slate for the next 5 episodes. I got it all planned out, and so stay tuned. There's a lot to talk about because we're getting closer and closer to the release of Transformers Last Night. Therefore, this channel's on fire, man. Anyways, thank you so much for all your support. As always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name is Izzie. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Oh!
I want to stay, and I want to fight them.
You think you're a badass, huh? Is this okay to be a kid, little J-Lo?
Funny what you